Dispelling dangerous myths in health and wellness each and every Monday with Dr. Anthony G. Beck. Brought to you by Biohacker Labs. Warning, side effects may include more energy, deeper sleep, better memory, resistance to bullshit, and more cash in your wallet. Consult Dr. Beck with any questions.
Hello, everyone. We are back with another Mythbusting Mondays. This episode is about multivitamins and should they be gender specific. I'm here with Oksana. We are your hosts in this journey down mythbusting, and we are joined with Dr. Anthony G. Beck, who will dispel the myth of whether multivitamins should be gender specific or not. Without further ado, let's dive in.
Right on, guys. Well, one thing that is pretty synonymous with health, and that's our desire to supplement. And of course, the proverbial supplement across all platforms and people and demographics are multivitamins. And I'm a big fan of multivitamins too, and I definitely recommend them to each and every one of my patients as a supplement. Supplemental to what? A healthful diet. But here's the thing. One of the things I like to really do with patients is help to safeguard them from what we talk about so often here on Mythbusting Mondays and Biohacker Labs, is that the noise and confusion of the info space. Everything has a commercial spin. And hey, I'm not opposed to that. But what I want to do is just guard you in the right direction, because I'm going to kind of share with you some poignant examples of how this can go awry. So when you're talking about multivitamins and you're just going through those aisles, whether it be through the box stores or the health food stores or the little retail spots, it's like, how do you pick one? And so many times people don't realize that they are falling prey to the same way a lot of people buy a bottle of wine. It's whatever has the coolest label, right? Or whichever one is on sale. And in order to do that, a lot of marketing places have to bring you into some things that come into, is this for men or it's for women? Because what we're going to be doing is thinking about, well, I want one that best suits me. And one of the divisive areas is, of course, what your gender is. So I like to jump in and kind of let you know a couple of things when it comes to nutrition, and especially after 20 years of practicing nutritional medicine. I want you to just open your mind a little bit, and again, always do your due diligence and look into some of the things that we share with you. But I want to show you, yes, there is a lot of differences, but at the end of the day, we're not so different when it comes to the realm of multivitamins. One of the things that I like to have people do is actually go to where the Nutritional Board or the Institutes of Medicine, the National Academies, kind of lays out. They get together periodically every couple years or so, and they go, okay, what is society doing when it comes to disease? What do we typically need to have when it comes to nutrients to prevent known nutritional deficiency diseases? Now, there's a big difference in just enough to prevent a disease versus making up for the damage that we induce by chemicals in our environment and nutritional deficiencies because we might consume alcohol or sodas or things like that. So keep in mind, these numbers of nutrients are based upon just preventing what we call known nutritional diseases. Okay, that's why they call these daily amounts. So if you look at the chart, what you'll find for both men and women, they're pretty much the doggone same, right? But that doesn't sell. Whether you're going into a Macy's or Nordstrom, believe you me, or the colors that they pick, the music they play, the scents that they put out there, everything panders to a specific gender. And of course, in the realm of multivitamins, there are no exceptions to that rule. They want people to feel in congruency with their product, so you'll choose it. And one of the ways they do that is male and female. But when it comes down to the actual science of it, there really isn't a whole bunch of difference. But if you really think about what's exposed, and we've all seen this in different things out there in ads, and we talk about, well, women need more calcium for their bones. Well, how come men, we don't need calcium for our bones, right? Well, don't we have bones too? And don't we get old and decrepit and shrink in our inches and, walk around with canes too? It's the same thing as like, well, okay, well, ladies, for female health and for your lady parts, you got to have some of these herbal formulas. Well, are we a vitamin? Or are we an herbal formula, right? So the thing is when it comes to multivitamins, we try to really encourage people to step out for a second and think, what is it for? Because over time, these can actually induce harm. And I see this more specifically in the female realm and market and things like that. So you'll oftentimes see a nutrient complex, even by the same company, and you'll see the male formula for men and one for women. And the only really discerning factor between the two is really an extra herb put in there or not. So like for men, we'll see like stinging nettles or tribulus or saw palmetto because we have a prostate. And for women, we need red clover or donqui or something like that, some herb for that. Well, here's the thing. Herbs are medicine, guys. They are for acute care, to work or bump physiology to help nourish the body in certain things, because herbs can be very powerful. Taking them over time and constantly inducing the systems of the body, the chemical reactions, the biochemistry, just across the board and constantly, you're really asking for trouble. Like in this particular, woman's formula, oftentimes we'll see like red clover. Well, red clover is a phytoestrogen. It's a cholagogue. It can actually induce lactation at certain doses, and we don't want that for all populations. Just because you have lady parts doesn't necessarily mean that a typical lady part herb is for you. So the take home is you shouldn't ever have any herbs in your multivitamin anyhow, period. Right?
What about age? Like there is, so gender specific. What about age? Is there some nutritional differences?
Well, we could do a whole Mythbusting Monday on that one too, but but that's a great question. The thing is that as you age, you do need additional nutrients, but here's the problem, guys. The only thing that's going to shift, and we'll see this in nutrients and multivitamins too, is they're going to say, well, for women, we're going to add a little bit more calcium. For men, maybe a little bit more lycopene or a little bit more zinc. But what you have to understand, if you look at these products side by side, there's so small differences in the micrograms or milligram, depending upon the nutrient, it really doesn't make any difference. It's just a sales pitch. It's the sexiness. And when it comes to getting older, well, here's the thing. What everybody misses is the quantification of the individual. There's no way that you can determine nutrient supplement levels in the absence of personal clinical data. So that's why multis are important. There's a broad range that kind of catches a broad selection of the population across, not only here just in the States, but around the world. But you really have to take into consideration your own specific diet, some of the gaps that are in there. And of course, this is why we always recommend functional testing to actually determine that. But keep your multi to the nutrients when it comes to vitamins and minerals. We can't fit every doggone thing into these capsules or tablets or whatever. It's the law of physics. We can only cram so much in there. So just because you're getting older, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need more nutrients. Again, if you go back to the charts and what the science is based upon, it's actually very small margins. So what that does is it kind of clouds the issue. And the issue that we really need to be looking at when it comes to multivitamins is not whether it's for male or female or for over 50 or silver, or again, all those things that pander to certain classifications. We need to focus on the three critical components that really make it all the difference in the world. Because I don't care what the label is on it. If you're getting those nutrients from a crappy source, like the vast majority of the ones that are out there, a lot of people don't know that they actually come from coal tar, petroleum products, because, it's just a branch of different carbon, hydrogens, and oxygens, and we manipulate them with different chemicals and exposures, and we can make, a B2 out of it. We can make...
And it's cheap.
Oh, and it's so much cheaper. Yeah, I mean, it's because all the stuff from chemicals that we make in the world today, there's always these byproducts, the sludge, the garbage, the scraps, just like with food, right? All that stuff, like I live in Vegas part-time back in the day, and I would see all these trucks go around to the restaurants and all these buffets, and they would collect all the food scraps. I'm like, well, where does that go? Well, they shipped it off to a processing plant, out in the other part of the county, and then they cooked it, and then they fed it to pigs, right? So like, well, it's just not garbage, it's not going to landfill, somebody else can use it. Well, guess what? There's an industry out there that uses the byproducts of industry and car manufacture and stuff like that, and gas production to make vitamins. It's a dirty secret.
So want some like car tires?
Yeah, so coal tar is a source to make these particular nutrients. Or there's more scrupulous people where we can actually get it from things like non-GMO corn dextrose, or we can get it from rice bran. In other words, we can get a plant-derived molecule out. So that's my preferred source. Why? Because not a lot of chemistry has to occur in order to extract that particular vitamin profile out of there. Very similar to us actually eating it. But to get the therapeutic dose, which is the next critical component, right, you actually have to eat enough of it. So to get enough B1 dose to make up for it being absent from the diet every day, you'd have to eat like 8 cups of rice. Well, the problem with that is now you have the carbohydrate and the insulin issue and things like that. So it's a law of diminishing returns. But if you take too little of a nutrient, you're not going to get the therapeutic benefit. If you take too much, you're going to throw off systems in the body possibly. And this applies to vitamin D. It applies to the B vitamins, certain minerals, and things like that, especially if that dose is elevated and the source is crappy. So then it comes down to the third critical component is really the form. In other words, what does it actually say on the label? Like for instance, most people, you'll see a vitamin B1 or thiamine hydrochloride, HCl, okay? Well, that's a synthetic, generally coal tar derived product in that supplement. Well, the body doesn't use thiamine hydrochloride. It actually has to consume it, strip off the HCl, and then reattach a different molecule in order to use it, and that would be pyrophosphate. So it's the same thing like as B12. Is it cyanocobalamin or is it methylcobalamin? 2 totally different molecules. And to drive that home, what I like to tell people is if you ever take a look at human blood hemoglobin versus plant chlorophyll, our blood versus a plant's blood, they're virtually identical in form except for a little molecule in the middle. So for us, it's iron. For plants, it's magnesium. So you can take that same protein structure and change out the element that's the cog of the wheel in the middle, and we go from blood to chlorophyll. It's an amazing thing. So I always encourage people to take a look at the difference between those and that thing. So what that drives home here is what you really should be doing is learning about what the critical components are for selecting a multivitamin.
And I think one of the analogies that I really liked that you gave us once was the key and the keyhole. So if you imagine a vitamin or a substance that you're putting into your body is a key, and it has to go into your cell, which is the keyhole, to be metabolized. And if it's in the wrong form or source, then your body actually has to pull the other nutrients from the body to take that key, which won't turn when it goes into that keyhole, and actually carve out that the right mechanism for it to turn, which leaches other minerals and vitamins from the body to make it turn. So you can actually be depleting your body of other vitamins or minerals to make that substance that your body doesn't like, make that key turn.
And also, I've noticed on a lot of multivitamins, you never even see the form. Like what molecule exactly is in it. It just says B1, B12, whatever, B6, and you have absolutely zero idea where it's coming from. And most of the time, you can't even go on that specific brand's website and even get that information because they hide it from you.
Yeah, you guys are absolutely correct. I'm so glad you mentioned that. I was actually going to forget that part. Labeling, requirements in law and FDA guidelines don't require them to disclose where it comes from. They just want to tell you what chemical is actually in there.
It's a dirty little secret.
It is. And speaking of that, what we have done is we've actually put together for you a couple of books here. And the thing about it is one of them is going to give you these 10 dirty lies about multivitamins and the things that you don't know. I mean, it's pretty doggone shocking. You can go more into that by taking a look at that, and we're going to have links available to you. We're also going to give you a bonus resource, which is a checklist to where you can actually, let's stack it up side by side. These are the forms that are the correct bioavailable, active, useful forms in the body at the endpoint in physiology and biochemistry, what we're going to use versus what I'm consuming, right? So we're going to give you that ability to do a side-by-side comparison. Well, of course, over the years, I've been doing this for 2 decades, tens of thousands of patients. I wanted to make sure that I had the best for my patients, so of course I formulated a particular product for Helion Nutraceuticals and basically provided all these active compounds in their therapeutic doses from the quality plant-based sources. Some are animal sourced like vitamin D, because we're not going to get D from plants, but it's not from a irradiated fish manufacturer from Asia. It's actually from lanolin or sheep's wool. So there's a difference in quality of resource. So remember, source, form, and dose. That's what you really want to be focusing on, the quality of the ingredients. And so lastly, I also want to make sure you understand that some products out there will tout their good manufacturing practices. Well, that's fantastic. GMP is a marvelous standard. I adhere to it and things of that nature. However, it doesn't speak to those 3 things that we just talked about, source, form, and dose. GMP standards are really centered on the process and the cleanliness of putting together whatever you put together, right? So even the manufacture of dog food or petroleum products all have GMP standards. So don't be fooled by certain standards. You still have to get down to the real crux of the matter, and that's the actual quality of the source. Make sure it's the form that the body uses, and in a dose that's actually going to bring about a particular reaction. So hopefully this has enlightened you guys when it comes to the world of multivitamins. Don't be fooled by the hype when it comes to picking one for your gender, but instead focus on quality, the form, the source, and the dose.
Yep. And make sure to download those reports that we are giving away so you can compare, you can check off what's in your what vitamins you are taking, if it's actually helping your health or damaging your health.
So that's all we have for this episode of Mythbusting Mondays, brought to you by Biohacker Labs. We're on a mission to open 1 million people's eyes to the real truth about health and optimal wellness. So please help us by sharing this podcast with family and friends. And together we can break free from all that noise and confusion and make the world a brighter place. Remember, each episode comes with a video and slides, so make sure to head over to www.biohackerlabs.com/podcasts to get them, as well as our show notes and some free gifts.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel and podcast to discover more dangerous health myths. We love hearing from you, so please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have a show suggestion or want us to bust a myth, please email it to us at mythbusting@biohackerlabs.com. See you all next week with a fresh myth-busting episode.